The stars held secrets, and humanity had become very good at keeping them. For 50 years, the Orbital Defense Initiative had watched silently as three massive alien empires tore the galaxy apart. To them, Earth was nothing more than a primitive backwater world, barely worth noting on stellar charts. That suited humanity just fine. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Watchpoint Station Alpha, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the latest battle between the Collective and the Swarm. The station, hidden in the asteroid belt, was invisible to all but the most sophisticated scanning technology. Technology that humanity had secretly mastered decades ago. Another Collective cruiser lost, reported Commander James Rodriguez, his fingers dancing across the control panel. The Swarm's new bioships are more effective than we anticipated. Sarah nodded, her expression unchanged. 20 years of watching these conflicts had taught her patience. While the alien empires fought their war of attrition, humanity had been learning, adapting, and preparing. The Collective, with their crystalline ships and energy weapons, represented order taken to extremism. The Swarm, organic vessels that consumed everything in their path, embodied evolution without conscience. And the Dominion, cybernetic beings who saw all other life as inferior, personified cold logic without wisdom. Each believed they were destined to rule the galaxy. None of them knew about Earth's silent vigilance. Admiral, called out Lieutenant Emma Puddle from her monitoring station, we're detecting unusual movement from the Dominion's cyber fleet. They're advancing toward the Sol system's outer boundary. Sarah's eyes narrowed. This was new. For decades, the alien powers had given Earth a wide berth, considering it too primitive to waste resources on. Show me. The holographic display shifted, revealing a fleet of sleek, geometric ships cutting through space with mechanical precision. The Dominion's vessels were works of art, if your idea of art was perfect symmetry and ruthless efficiency. They're not on a direct course, James noted, but if they maintain their current trajectory, they'll pass within range of Neptune Station Beta. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Perhaps it was time. Humanity had spent half a century developing defenses that none of the alien powers could imagine. While they fought with energy beams and plasma torpedoes, Earth had quietly mastered gravity manipulation, quantum engineering, and consciousness transfer technology. Contact Central Command, she ordered. Tell them Silent Watcher's protocol is now active, and get me a secure line to Director Harper at Neptune Station. As her crew rushed to comply, Sarah thought about the message she'd received that morning from Earth Defense Command. The simulations were clear. Conflict with at least one of the alien powers was inevitable. The only question was when and how humanity would reveal itself. The holographic display showed the Dominion fleet's continuing advance. Their ships moved in perfect formation, their cyber-enhanced crews probably certain of their superiority. Sarah knew better. Beneath the surface of every planet in the Sol system, in hidden stations throughout the asteroid belt, and in vast underground facilities on Earth itself, humanity had built something the alien powers had never managed, a defense network that learned and evolved faster than any of their technologies. Admiral, Emma called out, her voice tight with controlled excitement. Director Harper is online. Sarah squared her shoulders. Put him through. The weathered face of Director Marcus Harper appeared in a floating holoscreen. Admiral Chen, I assume you're watching our visitors. Indeed, they're being rather bold today. Or rather foolish, Harper replied with a grim smile. Our gravity nets are ready. One word from you, and we can redirect their entire fleet into the Kuiper Belt. Sarah considered the options. The Dominion needed to be turned away, but not in a way that revealed humanity's true capabilities. Not yet. No gravity nets, she decided. Let's try something more subtle. Activate the Quantum Ghost Protocol. Harper's eyebrows rose. Interesting choice. Multiple phantom signals to confuse their sensors. Exactly. Make them think they're picking up aftermath radiation from a natural stellar phenomenon. The Dominion prizes efficiency. They won't waste resources investigating what they believe is a natural hazard. As Sarah watched, Neptune's station began broadcasting carefully crafted quantum signatures. To the Dominion sensors, it would appear as if a recent solar flare had created a field of dangerous radiation. Their logic-driven minds would calculate the risk-reward ratio and determine that their current course was inefficient. Within minutes, the geometric ships began altering their trajectory, moving away from the Sol system. Sarah allowed herself to relax slightly, but she knew this was just the beginning. "Send word to all observation posts," she commanded. "Double the watch rotation. I want to know the moment any of the three powers make a move in our direction." As her crew acknowledged the order, Sarah turned back to the main display. The galaxy burned with ancient conflicts, and humanity had spent 50 years watching the fire. But now the flames were creeping closer to Earth, and humanity's time in the shadows was coming to an end. Soon, the alien powers would learn that while they had been fighting each other, humanity had been preparing for them all. The silent watchers would be silent no longer. The warning came at 300 Earth Standard Time. A swarm bioship, locked in combat with a collective cruiser, had strayed into the outer reaches of the Sol system. Admiral Chen watched from Watchpoint Alpha as the massive organic vessel, its hull pulsing with bioluminescent patterns, pursued its crystalline prey. "They're approaching the Titan defense perimeter," Commander Rodriguez reported, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. "The collective ship is heavily damaged. Its power signature is fluctuating." Sarah's mind raced through the implications. For 50 years, humanity had managed to stay out of the endless alien conflicts. But now, the war was quite literally on their doorstep. Status of the Titan defense grid. Online but inactive. Lieutenant Patel responded. "Ghost protocols are maintaining our cover, but if those ships get any closer..." The decision weighed heavily on Sarah's shoulders. Earth's policy had always been clear: avoid contact, maintain the illusion of primitiveness, and prepare in secret. But there were lines that couldn't be crossed. The Titan research facilities housed some of humanity's most advanced quantum technology. "Connect me to Earth Defense Command," Sarah ordered. Priority Alpha. The holographic display shifted, revealing the stern face of Fleet Admiral William Torres. "I assume this is about our unexpected visitors." "Yes, sir. They're approaching critical infrastructure. Request permission to initiate Defense Protocol Omega." Torres was silent for a moment, his expression thoughtful. "The Council has already convened. You have authorization, Admiral Chen. Show them what humanity can do. But remember, we're not ready to reveal everything. Make it look good, but not too good." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Understood, sir." Chen out. The holographic display returned to showing the ongoing chase. The swarm bioship had almost caught up to the collective cruiser, its organic weapons preparing to deliver the killing blow. "Battle stations," Sarah commanded. "Activate the Titan defense grid. Target package Delta 7. Throughout the observation deck, crews moved with practiced efficiency. 50 years of preparation had led to this moment. Deep beneath Titan's icy surface, quantum reactors hummed to life. Arrays of gravity manipulators, disguised as natural formations, oriented themselves toward the approaching vessels. "Both ships have crossed the defense perimeter," Rodriguez announced. "They're not detecting our systems." "Execute Delta 7, Sarah ordered. The effect was immediate and devastating. A carefully calibrated gravitational wave rippled through space, appearing to all sensors as a natural phenomenon caused by Saturn's complex orbital mechanics. The wave caught both alien vessels, sending them tumbling off course. The swarm bioship, its organic form more resilient to gravitational forces, recovered first. But by then, Phase 2 of Delta 7 was already in motion. Quantum filaments, invisible to conventional sensors, created a web of spatial distortions. To the alien vessels, it would appear as if they had stumbled into a natural hazard zone. "The collective cruiser is retreating," Paddle reported. "The swarm ship is hesitating." Sarah watched as the massive bioship tried to navigate the quantum web, its sensors clearly confused by the apparently natural phenomena. After several tense minutes, it too turned away, its bioluminescent patterns reflecting its frustration. "Stand down to condition yellow," Sarah ordered. "Maintain ghost protocols and begin after-action analysis." As her crew worked to document the encounter, Sarah received a private message from Director Harper at Neptune Station. "Impressive work, Admiral. The quantum web was particularly inspired. They'll think twice before venturing this deep into our system again." "Let's hope so," Sarah replied. "But something tells me this is just the beginning." She was right. Within hours, reports began flowing in from observation posts throughout the system. The collective had increased patrols along their nearest trade routes. The swarm had redirected 3 hive clusters to analyze the anomaly their ship had encountered. And the Dominion, ever watchful, had dispatched probe ships to study the Sol system's unusual gravitational properties. In her private quarters later that night, Sarah reviewed the day's events. Humanity had won its first direct encounter with the alien powers, but they had done so while maintaining their cover of technological primitiveness. It was a delicate balance, demonstrating enough strength to protect their territory while not revealing their true capabilities. "Computer," she called out, "show me current positions of all known alien vessels within 10 light-years of Sol." The holographic display materialized, showing dozens of ships moving through nearby space. The alien powers were curious now, their attention drawn to the supposedly primitive system that had somehow repelled their ships. Sarah knew that curiosity would eventually turn to suspicion, and suspicion to investigation. Humanity's time in the shadows was growing shorter by the day. But when the time came to step into the light, the alien powers would learn that while they had been fighting their endless war, humanity had been preparing for something far more impressive: survival at any cost. News traveled fast in the galaxy, even among species that were trying to destroy each other. The incident in the Sol system had created ripples that spread through all 3 major powers, causing reactions that nobody, except perhaps humanity, had anticipated. In the crystalline halls of the Collective's High Command, Supreme Director Vexthor reviewed the sensor logs from their defeated cruiser for the 100th time. The ship's encounter with the strange gravitational anomalies near the primitive human system defied explanation. "Impossible," he muttered, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns that reflected his agitation. "Natural phenomena don't behave with such precision." Across the galaxy, in the living chambers of the swarm's primary hive cluster, the Queen Mother accessed the shared consciousness of her bioship's crew. Their memories of the encounter filled her with unfamiliar sensations, curiosity, and perhaps a touch of fear. "Send observers," she commanded through the biological network that connected all swarm vessels. "But do not engage. Something about this requires study." Meanwhile, aboard the geometric perfection of the Dominion's central processing hub, the AI Council had devoted a significant portion of their computational power to analyzing the Sol system incident. Their logical matrices struggled with an illogical conclusion: the supposedly primitive humans might not be as primitive as they appeared. Back on Earth, Admiral Chen sat in an emergency meeting with the Defense Council. The holographic displays showed the movements of all 3 alien powers, their ships taking increasingly complex routes that just happened to pass by the Sol system. "They're testing us," Sarah explained, gesturing to the patrol patterns. "Each pass brings them a little closer, each scan digs a little deeper. They're trying to provoke another response." Fleet Admiral Torres nodded gravely. "And we need to decide what that response will be. Director Harper, what's the status of the Neptune defense grid?" "Fully operational," Harper's hologram reported. "We've upgraded the quantum web generators based on data from the last encounter. If they probe again, we can present an even more convincing natural phenomenon." "That may not be enough," interrupted Dr. Maya Patel, head of Earth's Technological Development Division. Her hologram flickered as she pulled up new data. "We're detecting signs that the Dominion has developed new scanning techniques. They're specifically looking for artificial signatures in what they think are natural anomalies. Sarah felt a familiar tension in her shoulders. Humanity had planned for this, but the reality of facing 3 advanced alien civilizations was still daunting. Perhaps, she suggested, it's time for Phase 2. The room fell silent. Phase 2 had been developed decades ago, but had never been implemented. It was risky, bold, and would forever change humanity's position in the galaxy. Explain your reasoning, Admiral, Torres prompted. Sarah stood, manipulating the holographic display to show the latest intelligence. The 3 powers are already suspicious. Instead of waiting for them to discover our true capabilities, we control the revelation. We show them exactly what we want them to see, when we want them to see it. You're suggesting we deliberately reveal some of our technology? Dr. Patil asked, her hologram leaning forward with interest. Yes, but very specifically chosen technologies. We show them our primitive attempts at quantum engineering. Let them think they're seeing our first stumbling steps into advanced science. They'll be so focused on what we're showing them that they won't look for what we're hiding. Torres finished, a smile crossing his face. Clever, very clever. The plan was approved within hours. Across the Sol system, carefully orchestrated accidents began to occur. A research satellite near Mars suddenly emitted quantum signatures that any advanced race would recognize as crude but promising experiments. A small station in the asteroid belt began broadcasting gravity wave patterns that suggested humanity was just beginning to understand spatial manipulation. The reaction from the alien powers was immediate and exactly as humanity had predicted. The collective sent diplomatic overtures, offering to guide humanity's technological development. For a price, of course. The swarm's observers moved closer, their bioships practically vibrating with interest in this emerging species. The Dominion's logical matrices calculated that early intervention might allow them to shape humanity's development to their advantage. None of them suspected that these primitive humans had already surpassed many of their technological achievements. In her private quarters that evening, Sarah received an encrypted message from an unexpected source. A small faction within the collective, led by a scientist named Zextel, had reached out through carefully hidden channels. We know, the message read, we have seen the patterns within patterns. Your species plays a deeper game than our leaders realize. When the time comes, remember that not all of us are bound by the old wars. Sarah encrypted the message with quantum protocols and forwarded it to Earth Defense Command. As she watched the stars through her viewport, she allowed herself a moment of hope. Perhaps humanity's emergence wouldn't just change the balance of power. It might finally bring an end to the endless wars that had plagued the galaxy. But first, they had to spring the trap that had been 50 years in the making. Phase 2 was just the beginning. The real test would come when the alien powers realized just how completely they had underestimated humanity. The storm broke with frightening suddenness. Despite humanity's careful planning, they couldn't control everything. The Dominion's AI Council had run the calculations too many times, their quantum processors detecting patterns that shouldn't exist. They reached a conclusion that their logic couldn't ignore. Humanity was deceiving them all. Admiral Chen received the alert at midnight. Multiple Dominion warfleets had altered course, moving directly toward the Sol system. Behind them, collective battle groups had begun mobilizing, and long-range sensors detected swarm hive clusters shifting position. "Show me the numbers," Sarah commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. The holographic display lit up with red icons, hundreds of them. The Dominion alone had committed 30% of their total fleet strength. The collective wasn't far behind, and the swarm had redirected 5 major hive clusters. They're not coordinating with each other, Commander Rodriguez noted, highlighting the distinct movement patterns of each force. Each thinks they can get to us first. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. That works in our favor. Director Harper, status of the Sol defense grid. All stations report ready, Harper's hologram replied. Quantum shields are at full power, and the gravity lance platforms are primed. But Sarah, there are a lot of ships coming. Numbers don't win battles, she reminded him. Not when you control the battlefield itself. Earth Defense Command had already activated Protocol Omega Black, the plan they had hoped they'd never need to use. Across the solar system, hidden installations began powering up technologies that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. The Dominion fleet arrived first, their geometric ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Their initial scans of the Sol system showed exactly what they expected: a handful of primitive defense satellites, some basic orbital stations, and a few crude attempts at quantum technology. The AI Council's primary node transmitted its demand for surrender directly to Earth's main communication arrays. They were met with silence. "Launch probes," the AI commanded. "Begin systematic." The order was never completed. Throughout the solar system, quantum anchors activated simultaneously. Space itself seemed to crystallize around the Dominion fleet, trapping their ships in a lattice of frozen spacetime. "Impossible," the AI core transmitted. "This technology cannot exist. Our calculations." The next wave arrived. Collective warships emerging from hyperspace, their crystalline hulls gleaming. They had barely enough time to register the trapped Dominion fleet before humanity's gravity lances engaged. Beams of concentrated gravitational force lashed out from seemingly empty space, catching the collective ships in a crossfire. Their advanced shields, designed to repel energy weapons, proved useless against weapons that bent space itself. The swarm arrived last, their organic ships moving with predatory grace. But they found no easy prey. Instead, they encountered something entirely new: quantum disruptors that turned their biological advantages against them, causing their neural networks to cascade into chaos. From her command center deep within Watchpoint Alpha, Sarah watched the battle unfold. "Transmit to all alien vessels," she ordered. "Open channel." Her voice carried across space, reaching every ship in the system. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. For 50 years, we watched your wars. We learned. We adapted. We prepared. You assumed we were primitive because we chose not to reveal ourselves. That was your mistake." On her command, the next phase activated. Hidden shipyards throughout the asteroid belt decloaked, revealing humanity's true fleet. Vessels that combined all they had learned from studying the three powers, enhanced by innovations none of them had imagined. "We don't want war," Sarah continued. "We never did. But we will not be conquered, controlled, or corrupted. You have two choices: retreat and open diplomatic channels, or continue this attack and learn exactly how much humanity has advanced while you weren't watching." The response came in stages. The swarm, their hive minds reeling from the quantum disruption, were the first to withdraw. Their bioships retreated in a chaotic mass, transmitting patterns that translated roughly to acceptance and caution. The collective took longer to decide. Their ships, those that could still maneuver, held position as their command structure debated. Finally, Supreme Director Vexthor himself transmitted a response. "Perhaps, we have much to discuss." The Dominion, their ships still trapped in quantum stasis, took the longest to acknowledge the new reality. Their AI cores ran countless simulations before reaching an inescapable conclusion. They had severely miscalculated. As the alien fleets retreated, Sarah received another encrypted transmission from Zextal and his faction within the collective. "You played the game perfectly. The old powers needed this lesson. When you're ready to discuss the future, we are prepared to serve as intermediaries." Sarah looked out at the battlefield, where humanity's hidden strength had finally been revealed. The galaxy would never be the same, but perhaps that was for the best. The endless wars between the three powers had stagnated progress for too long. "Send word to Earth Defense Command," she ordered. "Phase 3 is ready to begin." The real work, building a lasting peace in a galaxy that had forgotten what peace meant, was just beginning. But humanity had proven they were ready for the challenge. They had watched, learned, and prepared. Now it was time to lead. 1 year after the Battle of Seoul, the galaxy had changed in ways none of the old powers had imagined possible. The gleaming spires of New Geneva Station hung in Earth orbit, its quantum crystalline architecture combining the best elements of human innovation with collective engineering. It was here that the future of the galaxy would be decided. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck, watching representatives from all three powers arrive for the historic summit. The collective's crystalline ships sparkled like jewels in the starlight. The swarm's organic vessels pulsed with more controlled, deliberate patterns than before. Even the Dominion's geometric craft seemed less rigid, their designs showing subtle influences of human quantum engineering. Quite a sight, isn't it? Director Harper asked, joining her at the window. 1 year ago, they came to conquer us. Now they're here to learn from us. Sarah nodded, though her expression remained thoughtful. They're here because we proved we could match their strength while offering something they'd forgotten existed: hope for change. The past year had been intense. After the Battle of Seoul, humanity had moved quickly to reshape the galaxy's political landscape. They didn't seek dominion or control. Instead, they positioned themselves as mediators, innovators, and catalysts for progress. The quantum communication network, developed in secret by Earth's scientists, now connected civilizations across the galaxy. The collective's crystalline technology, combined with human quantum engineering, had created new possibilities for energy generation and space travel. Even the swarm had begun to evolve in unexpected ways, their hive minds experiencing individual consciousness for the first time thanks to carefully controlled quantum interference patterns. The delegates are ready, Lieutenant Patil announced, approaching with a data tablet. All three powers have agreed to the preliminary terms. Sarah took a deep breath. This meeting would formalize the Galactic Concordat, a new framework for cooperation and advancement that would replace millennia of conflict. The three powers would maintain their autonomy but would be bound by agreements that promoted collaboration over confrontation. In the Grand Conference Chamber, Sarah took her place at the circular table. Supreme Director Vexthor of the Collective, Queen Mother Cathur of the Swarm, and Primary Node Axiom of the Dominion sat with her as equals. Around them, holograms showed the faces of billions across the galaxy who were watching this historic moment. 1 year ago, Sarah began, her voice carrying to every corner of known space. Humanity revealed itself to the galaxy. Not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as proof that there is always another way forward. She gestured to the holographic display showing the latest joint project, a massive quantum engineering facility where scientists from all species work together to unlock the universe's mysteries. We spent 50 years watching your wars, she continued, not just learning about your weapons and tactics, but understanding why you fought. We saw great civilizations trapped in patterns of conflict that served no one. And we prepared, not just to defend ourselves, but to offer an alternative. The Queen Mother's bioluminescent patterns shifted in agreement. The swarm remembers only war. Now we learn to create. The collective sought perfection through dominance. Vexthor added, his crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns. You showed us perfection through collaboration. Primary Node Axiom's geometric form pulsed with calculated precision. Our algorithms predicted endless conflict. Human innovation introduced new variables. The results are fascinating. The signing of the Concordat took less than an hour, but its implications would echo through centuries. Humanity's role was not to rule but to guide, to ensure that the lessons learned in the Battle of Seoul were never forgotten. Later that evening, Sarah received one final encrypted transmission from Zextal, who had emerged as a leading voice for progress within the collective. You did more than defeat our fleets. You defeated our certainty that war was inevitable. That is a far greater victory. Standing at her favorite observation window, Sarah watched ships from all three powers moving peacefully through space. Earth's fleet remained strong, their advanced technology now supplemented by innovations shared freely between allies. But their greatest strength had never been their weapons or shields. "Computer," she called out, "show me the latest data from the Joint Research Initiative." The holographic display lit up with projects that would have been impossible a year ago. Quantum gates that could revolutionize travel, biological innovations that could heal dying worlds, and computational breakthroughs that merged the best of organic and artificial intelligence. Humanity had changed the galaxy not through conquest, but through possibility. They had shown that watching, learning, and preparing didn't have to lead to conflict. Sometimes, it could lead to something far more powerful: hope. As the sun rose over Earth, casting its light across New Geneva Station, Sarah Chen smiled. The old wars were over. The dawn of a new age had begun, and humanity would help light the way forward. In the vast expanse of space, ships of all three powers moved together, their crews learning to see each other not as enemies, but as partners in the greatest adventure of all, discovering what they could achieve together in a galaxy finally at peace.